When Lorraine Whittaker's name is brought up, many instantly think of pain, tragedy, and isolation. She is the woman from such a secluded lineage that for decades she was overlooked by society, a grim curiosity in the West Virginia mountains. She is the daughter of first-degree cousins, Rye and Elizabeth Whittaker. Lorraine's story started with a choice that is incomprehensible to many, yet it was a frequent practice in a community where social and geographical isolation shaped the inhabitants' lives. In a remote small town named OD, where alternatives were scarce and marriage options almost non-existent, unions between close family members became a practice that, to many, appeared necessary, yet, to outside eyes, Lorraine and her family emerged as a genetic oddity, a secluded family perpetuating a lineage scarred by hardships that nobody ventured to fully comprehend. To many, Lorraine is viewed as a symbol of consanguinity's tragedy, a woman whose name resounds in whispers and who bears an unseen weight of judgments. Her life story isn't merely one of mental and physical hardships brought on by closed genetics. It is also the story of a woman marginalized and handled like a curiosity, a misunderstood and distant figure, dismissed by the gaze of a society that never attempted to grasp her true essence. But what is unseen by many, and what few have endeavored to understand, is that beneath this entire image of suffering and tragedy, Lorraine Whittaker is a unique woman, a woman who, despite every adversity life threw at her, possessed a strengthened heart that many never learned to recognize. What is unknown to most is that, deep down, Lorraine was greater than the stigma attached to her. She was a quiet yet profoundly significant figure for her community and family. Her story is more intricate, more beautifully and humanely resilient than most could perceive. See if you are already subscribed to the channel. I bring real cases of consanguinity, isolated families, and the genetic consequences that must be understood 3 times a week. Activate the bell so you stay informed about more amazing stories full of lessons you don't want to miss. Click subscribe now. Today, Lorraine Whittaker continues to live beneath the weight of the social stigma she bears because of her origin. As the daughter of Rye and Elizabeth Whittaker, first-degree cousins who wed, Lorraine was and continues to be viewed as a genetic curiosity by the society surrounding her. The reality that her father and mother are cousins and married, forging a lineage defined by consanguinity, persists as a source of revulsion and prejudice for many. Presently, Lorraine doesn't just bear the burden of being the child of a practice deemed wrong or unnatural by many. She is also constantly judged for something she did not choose, but which was imposed upon her by her parents' choices. While consanguinity might be seen by some as a purely genetic issue, for many this origin is regarded as a moral error or a sin. Lorraine today is still stigmatized due to her genetic origin. The world surrounding her continues to see her as an odd figure, and her family's story is frequently reduced to a genetic anomaly or a mistake, without comprehending the situation's true complexity. For many, Lorraine's consanguineous mother and her union with her cousin are matters that provoke revulsion, and the social prejudice surrounding it continues to define how she is treated. Even in an age more informed on health and genetic issues, Lorraine is still not viewed with empathy, but rather with the weight of a society's ignorance that fails to understand what occurred, yet judges without pausing. People persist in looking at her with suspicion, and frequently with a degree of distance, as though her origin were something that made her less deserving of being treated as an equal. The stigma Lorraine confronts presently isn't merely about her physical appearance or the genetic issue she bears. Her family's story, particularly the fact that her parents are cousins, remains a source of social exclusion. Though she is now an adult woman, society has never truly accepted her. People who are acquainted with her continue to treat her with distance and doubt, often without making an effort to comprehend the real reason she is the way she is. Lorraine, with her communication difficulties and physical distortions, continues to be viewed as a marginalized figure, an individual who doesn't conform to social standards. But what is known by few is that her condition was not her choice. She did not choose to be the daughter of consanguineous parents. She did not choose to have physical problems or cognitive difficulties. Everything Lorraine ever desired was to be seen as a regular person. But society rejects her based on her genetic origin, isolating her further. To many, she is an oddity, something to be marginalized and observed. Simultaneously, Lorraine continues to face a lack of support from educators, doctors, and even social workers. She never received the appropriate treatment to manage the difficulties that recessive diseases brought upon her mind and body. The social neglect of the Whittaker family, both in the past and presently, is a mirror of the isolation they experienced and their lack of resources. There was nobody to explain what was occurring in her mind and body. And even after all these years, support for her specific condition remains limited. Lorraine continues to suffer because the options to assist her are few, and the medical community has not done enough to provide adequate solutions. Today, Lorraine still sees herself as a secluded woman. Different from everyone surrounding her, the emotional loneliness she experiences is profound. She continues to live inside a bubble of rejection, where she is treated with distance or constantly excluded. Despite being an adult woman, she is unable to overcome the impacts of isolation that started in her childhood. The contempt from people and the lack of social acceptance are the biggest emotional hurdles Lorraine confronts to this day. The world around Lorraine, regrettably, still views her as a curiosity and, in many instances, as someone undeserving of being understood. The judgment on her origin and the stigma of consanguinity continue to press down on her, restricting her possibilities for building meaningful relationships and limiting her interactions. The people surrounding her, rather than treating her with compassion and humanity, view her only as the reflection of a genetic practice they don't completely understand. The emotional and social barriers are profound, and Lorraine finds herself yet again battling a stigma she did not choose. Despite her age, Lorraine continues to face enormous emotional difficulties. The social prejudice she still bears and the weight of her family history make her daily life even more difficult. She struggles internally against the feeling of being undervalued and inadequate. In her mind, others' judgment is mirrored as an emotional barrier stopping her from living a fulfilled and full life. The shame inflicted by society is a quiet gag stopping her from free expression. Though she remains a woman living with numerous difficulties, nobody sees her as the person she truly is. Social judgment stops her from revealing her true humanity. She isn't simply a woman with cognitive difficulties and physical distortions. She is a person with profound feelings, with desires, and a history that needs to be understood and told, not judged, but beneath the loneliness she still confronts and the social stigma, there is a resilient, strong, and lifelong woman. Lorraine possesses a story that transcends social exclusion and judgment. What many fail to realize is that she is far more than these apparent difficulties. She is a woman of immense inner strength, with an emotionally complex and rich story that society has forgotten. Lorraine is not merely a woman defined by society's judgment or genetic problems. When observing her life today, we see someone who, despite her marginalization, bears a quiet wisdom and a dignity that has never been truly acknowledged. Her true essence transcends physical difficulties or appearance. She is a woman with a resilient heart, a strong soul, who, in the face of exclusion and judgments, keeps fighting for her humanity and living with an indomitable spirit. One of Lorraine's most unacknowledged qualities is her capacity for dedication and love. Rather than being viewed as a woman defined by genetic tragedy, Lorraine has, in reality, been a mother and a caregiver who consistently dedicated herself to her family. Despite society's marginalization and judgments, she has remained loyal to her own, always been with her siblings and children, caring for them with admirable patience, frequently without the acknowledgement she was due. Lorraine has been a woman of great kindness who, despite her personal challenges, never neglected to show unconditional love to her family. Even in her isolated condition, in her loneliness, Lorraine has served as a pillar of support for her loved ones. She didn't just accept her responsibility as a mother. She also demonstrated boundless dedication to her relatives and brothers, always prepared to care for them, even when she herself was dismissed by others. What society fails to grasp is that Lorraine's strength isn't in her communication difficulties or her appearance, but in her capacity to care for others and the depth of her love. How she confronts her life's difficulties with a warm heart is a model of resilience. Even though treated with prejudice and isolated, she persists in caring for those she loves. This aspect of her, the capacity to give love even when not receiving it, is one of her finest qualities. Lorraine's real greatness lies not in the genetic errors caused by consanguinity or her physical distortions, but in the willpower she shows daily. She exists in a society that rejects her based on profound prejudice and fails to understand her. Yet she does not give up. Rather than being overcome by loneliness or pain, Lorraine keeps fighting for her humanity and her dignity. Her inner strength is what keeps her upright, confronting emotional and physical difficulties, along with the societal lack of understanding regarding her condition. Presently, Lorraine doesn't live silently, but she still confronts the loneliness of being viewed only for the prejudice many hold against her and her appearance. Societal rejection is not simple to overcome, but Lorraine persists in resisting, discovering strength to maintain her identity and to live. In spite of all adversities, she is a dignified woman, a woman defined not by the limitations society has placed on her, but by her own resilience. Over the course of her life, Lorraine has grown into an introspective woman, someone who began to accept her loneliness in a manner that few can comprehend. The loneliness she endured did not shatter her. Instead, it made her a more reflective and deeper person. She started to understand that society might judge her for what she appeared to be, but that this judgment did not define her core essence. Lorraine, despite living isolated in numerous ways, discovered a method to understand herself and to accept her own hardships. The inner wisdom she cultivated over time is a mirror of her everyday battle to understand and accept her path. Loneliness, which might typically be viewed as a hardship, became for Lorraine a chance to find peace and grow emotionally. She did not require society's acceptance to be fulfilled or happy. Her strength is in overcoming adversities by herself and discovering within her what truly counts. Even with all the isolation, contempt, and rejection, Lorraine continues to stand firm and refuses to let external opinions define her true self. Lorraine's real legacy isn't found in the genetic distortions she carries or society's judgment. Lorraine's legacy is in her capacity to rise each day, to care for her family with unconditional love, and to be a woman of profound wisdom and strength. It is a tale of resistance of a woman who, even when confronting a life defined by stigma, does not get let down. The world views her in one way, but Lorraine Whittaker is far greater than that. She is the definition of love and resilience. Someone who has endured a life filled with adversity, but never forfeited the capacity to fight, to care, and to love. She is not a tragedy or a genetic curiosity, but a woman who, despite every difficulty, leaves behind a mark of humanity and courage. At present, Lorraine Whittaker and her family, particularly with increasing exposure on social media, continue to endure a life where public judgment remains a part of their daily existence. Social media, a mirror of modern society, has transformed into a space where personal stories get attention, but are frequently viewed from a shallow perspective. Lorraine, as a member of the Whittaker family, was subjected to critical and merciless opinions, which are, most of the time, founded only on prejudices and genetic appearances. But amidst the judgment, there is always a layer of humanity that many do not see. While many persist in looking with doubt and contempt, some choose to act differently, with compassion and empathy. The destructive comments and criticism on social media do not define Lorraine's value. Instead, they are a reflection of society's inadequate understanding of social isolation and genetic issues. Nonetheless, the Whittakers' story is not confined to superficial judgments and criticism. Once the family gained visibility, Lorraine's story reached the hearts of many supportive and good people who recognized a chance to genuinely help. These individuals understood that the Whittakers were not a curiosity or a joke, but a family with genuine needs that deserved understanding and help. Following this, supportive actions started to appear. Material help, financial donations, and support to attempt to better the family's living conditions. These acts of solidarity started to alleviate some of the family's most immediate hardships. Monetary donations permitted Lorraine and her family members to enhance their housing, purchase food, and even get basic products and clothes. This support was crucial for ensuring the family's essential needs were addressed. Nevertheless, while the material support was substantial, the real help required by the Whittaker family extends beyond just the financial. Regardless of the good intentions from many, the psychological and medical assistance that Lorraine and her family genuinely required continues to be an unsolved hurdle. Financial aid was vital for improving immediate living conditions, but the effects of the physical and cognitive difficulties resulting from extreme consanguinity cannot be fixed with donations alone. Lorraine, along with other Whittaker family members, still confronts the need for specialized treatment, which is not broadly available. The lack of access to specialist doctors and geographic isolation continue to be significant challenges. Furthermore, the lack of psychological support is also a crucial factor. The emotional loneliness and social stigma that Lorraine experienced her entire life have not been resolved by specific actions. She continues to face the emotional hardships of being viewed as a societal curiosity, and this necessitates ongoing psychological support. The expert psychological treatment that her family and she require to manage the impact of their emotional conditions persists. As an unmet need, Lorraine Whittaker's story is not singular in the fact that many marginalized and isolated individuals confront similar hardships. Her situation highlights how modern society frequently fails in providing comprehensive support to those who require it most. The help for Lorraine, while substantial from certain parts of the community, remains limited. An insufficient understanding of social isolation and genetic consanguinity issues prevents assistance from reaching the more complex areas of psychological, medical, and educational care. The real reflection here concerns what it genuinely means to help. Giving short-term aid or financial donations is not sufficient. What the Whittaker family truly requires is ongoing support from a structured network of support that transcends fleeting gestures. A profound understanding of their needs must be the priority, and solidarity needs to become tangible actions focused on transforming the family's and Lorraine's long-term life. The Whittaker's story, particularly Lorraine's, serves as a reminder that solidarity needs to be more than just occasional actions. It requires a genuine commitment to the welfare of those who, like Lorraine, exist on society's fringes with minimal resources and even less effective support. The Whittaker's story compels us to reconsider how we treat the most vulnerable. By acknowledging the unseen difficulties, humanizing individuals, and acting significantly and continuously, we can ensure that every person has an opportunity to conquer adversities and live a dignified life. Genuine solidarity is that which is given without anticipating anything in return, with understanding, and with a commitment to forging a more inclusive and just society. Today you have been invited to learn a story not just of suffering and difficulties, but also of love, resilience, and humanity. Lorraine Whittaker is a woman who, despite everything life has thrown at her, kept fighting, surviving, and above all, loving unconditionally. Her history is defined by genetic distortion stemming from past decisions in a society defined by prejudice and isolation. The daughter of Elizabeth and Ray Whittaker, Lorraine was raised in a closed world where consanguineous marriages were frequent. Her life, defined by social isolation and loneliness, has been on many occasions dismissed by society. And because of this, her human value and her true essence were ultimately forgotten, diminished to a genetic curiosity. But now, we have the chance to alter that. Lorraine's story cannot remain a story of marginalization. She is worthy of recognition, not as an individual living in her family's shadow, but as a woman of compassion, love, and courage. The social judgment of Lorraine is, and has always been, shallow. Many individuals only see her based on her appearance and the physical distortions resulting from consanguinity, but they fail to perceive the true strength she holds within. Lorraine is not a genetic tragedy, and she should not be viewed as a woman without worth. She is a daughter, a sister, a mother with profound feelings, and a history that isn't merely about past mistakes. She is greater than the stigmas that society has placed upon her. As a society, we bear a massive responsibility to view others through the lens of understanding and empathy. Lorraine was always handled as a curiosity, but the reality is that she is a woman of profound wisdom, strength, and dignity. Today, you hold the power to assist in changing the narrative about her. By leaving kind comments, you can be the light she has always required to escape the shadow of judgment. You can be the reason Lorraine feels valued and seen as the incredible woman she genuinely is. Imagine if all of us who know a story as significant as Lorraine's did something to assist. It is simple to see someone and believe that solidarity only exists with physical proximity, but that is false. In the world we inhabit, virtual support can also be exceptionally powerful. By leaving positive and beautiful comments, you will be demonstrating to Lorraine that she is not alone anymore. She might at last feel that she is not an oddity, but a woman who is truly understood and loved. Each word you type could be the emotional turning point she requires to find peace with her own story. Lorraine, you are not unseen. Your strength inspires us all. This is the type of message she needs to see. A single positive comment can alter Lorraine's day and aid in healing the emotional wounds she bears. Rather than viewing her story through the eyes of judgment, let us all opt to see her humanity. She is not merely a victim of genetics. She is a woman with a soul, a heart, and a unique and rich story. It is very simple to make the mistake of viewing Lorraine as a secluded figure and applying a negative label. But the reality is that by comprehending the complexity of her life, we see that the best gift we can offer her is the acknowledgement of her true essence. And that is why, at this moment, you have an opportunity to be a light in Lorraine's life. Let us together make her story deserving of compassion and empathy. Let us shatter the barriers of judgment and support those who are most in need. Lorraine is a woman who is worthy of being valued, respected, and loved. Her story is not one of shame, but a model of resilience, a fight for her family, and unconditional love. By supporting her, you assist in rescuing the woman who has always existed behind the stigma and has been forgotten for such a long time. Now, I ask you to be the change we wish to see in Lorraine's life. Post a supportive comment, share her story with other people, and help to spread solidarity. Here are a few pre-made phrases for you to post in the comments and help Lorraine feel more seen. 1. Lorraine, you are an incredible woman and deserve all respect and love. 2. Your story is an inspiration, Lorraine. May your strength be acknowledged by everyone. 3. Lorraine, you are greater than the stigmas you have confronted. You are a real warrior. 4. I am thankful to know your story, Lorraine. Your courage is a lesson to us all. Besides leaving your comments, subscribe to this channel, give this video a like, and share it with your friends. The more individuals who learn about Lorraine's real story, the more she will be saved from invisibility. Let's help the world see the incredible woman she is, not as a stigma, but as someone who is worthy of understanding and respect. Her story is worthy of being rewritten, and collectively we can be accountable for this change. Lorraine Whittaker's story dares us to see past the prejudice and labels. Every one of us can be the light that assists in rescuing someone from a life of rejection and judgment. Lorraine, in spite of the challenges and difficulties she has confronted, deserves to be supported, understood, and seen for her true humanity. If you believe that everyone is worthy of a second chance and that compassion and love can transform a life, then assist in rewriting Lorraine's story. Be the light. Be the change.